What's going on, people? I'm Brother Billy from Braincellsquared podcasts.
John, Sean or Yahya from Blue Collar Workers.
And today we're doing a joint podcast.
Oh,
I don't know if this has ever been done, if people have been doing joint podcasts, but if not, we're the first ones to do it.
Absolutely. Yeah, especially on British politics.
Yeah, definitely.
One of the things that I've noticed, outside of yourself and us, there's only 14 other types of political or cultural variations of podcasts in the UK.
Yeah.
There is the market is vastly underrepresented.
Well,
this is a golden opportunity for both of us in that regard.
Exactly. With me, I have our co-host 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐽, and
on the other side, I've got my ride or die, Christopher.
well, do you know what? He's my ride or die as well. if we're doing that. Today, well, let me introduce Yahya as someone that can explain something in a way where doesn't matter if you don't understand the situation, by the end of this, you will understand the situation. That's the way Yahya is, or John. That's the way he is.
I'm very comfortable being Yahya amongst the Muslim community.
Yeah, that's
as a little bit of a background for your own viewers, my grandmother and most of my family, close family, call me Sean. So that's genuinely what it says.
Okay.
My birth certificate says John, but that's because of the legal problems when my family left from Belfast. My mum was English, my father was Irish. So you can take a guess where I was born.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's chaos, isn't it?
Yeah.
And anybody who lives in the north will at least have a bit of an understanding of what happened during the Irish struggles. So my mother made certain that my birth certificate says John.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Even though almost all my family call me Sean, and most of the Muslim community, because they mean the same thing. They mean the beloved disciple of Isa, peace and peace upon him. So I never saw the need when I became Muslim to change who I was.
Yeah, fair enough.
John is a very religious name.
There's no need. There's no specific. When you become Muslim, there's no specific requirement to change your name to a Muslim. But if you wanted to, that's good.
That's your own accord.
It was a very easy transition.
Yeah.
I have a background in food. I studied Christian history, theological Christian history, 𝐶𝐨𝐧'𝐭 Christian history when I was a teenager. I've done missionary work way before I met Chris, and we're talking my 19s, 20s, 21s. I'm already 45. I've only known my reprobate here for about 10 years.
That's long enough. His face says it all.
When they're over.
To be fair, I was at the bottom of my food trade. I joined McDonald's literally at the end of my burger. So I was slinging burgers. I'd come away from main chefing. I was disgusted at the behaviour of British chefing in general. It's chaos in the south. And I met him, he was my manager. We worked in the same place, and the joint trauma of working for McDonald's.
I've had so many horror stories.
Outside of food, which I've spent more than 20 years, I do other work now, but I don't mention it because obviously we're in the public's eye, and Chris doesn't mention where he works currently.
That's what we don't
either.
Exactly. But my history comes around from where Christianity was a united religion. So that's the first 500 years. We call that the 𝐶𝐨𝐧'𝐭 period. That starts from around 63, 64 Common Era and ends around about the excommunication of the Pope versus the metropole of the Holy Roman Empire of Byzantium. They basically both excommunicated each other, and that was the split between the West and the East in terms of religically.
And is that where you specialise?
I specialise in the period before that. So pretty much from when the passing of Isa, peace and blessings upon him, Christianity speaking, the resurrection of Jesus, all the way up to the secession of the two parts of the church and the metropoles collapsed.
Right. Okay.
So it's a very broad area, and that's where I was studying my bachelor's for.
Okay. Now, Chris.
Yeah, Chris.
A little bit about yourself for our viewers.
I'm basic average Joe. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Gone through standard secondary school, bit of college, got some MBQs. Literally went straight into McDonald's to earn obviously a bit of money. Tried getting obviously degree/diploma. Didn't quite get there. Ended up at Mackey's for a good 18 years. I'm not gonna lie.
You loved it.
It's a substantial chunk, but I had my experiences there. All good. Mostly positive. Some obviously negative. Can never have the good without the bad. And literally where I met this one. The interesting one of the group, shall I say. It was Let's put it this way: if he was ever causing issues, they sent me to deal with him.
Go deal with him.
He's the only one that can deal with this guy.
You're not joking. The area manager and me had problems.
For the benefit of your viewers,
yeah, absolutely.
I'm Brother Billy. I, just like Chris, I'm a normal person. Went to college, did a bit in college, went to uni, did a bit in uni. Came out, got a job. And decided about 5 years ago that during COVID, I'm gonna start up TikTok. Started up TikTok randomly.
I wasn't that far behind you.
Yeah, I remember because when I first started, I think about a couple of months, within the first 6 months, I came across your page. Oh, so you weren't Muslim then?
I wasn't Muslim then.
No way, I thought you were Muslim before that.
No, not at all. I was defending the Palestinians as a Christian Catholic.
That's
some news. Until I bought my first Quran.
Okay.
Oh,
and
wow.
I bought the first Quran because the arguments between you, between Layla, between Scotty Lum, and Scotty Lum said to me, "You will not find the problems in the Bible in the Quran." I said, "I accept that challenge."
Yeah.
And I bought the Quran. And I've always been friendly with Muslims. I've always thought them brilliant, lovely people. I chefed all up and down North Africa, Morocco especially. I love the Moroccan people. Amazing, most hospitable people I've ever met in the African community. And these were my teens to 20s, just after I'd done my missionary work. So I was around 25 when I came back. But relatively speaking, my connection in that, involving your TikToking, was my transition period to Muslim.
Right, okay. So it was around that time. So I obviously started on TikTok. I decided, right, I'm just going to make a few comedy videos, whatever. They started blowing up. I got to quite a few thousand followers. And then fast forward, obviously 𝐷𝐶 has always been a friend of mine since we were in college. And he's always been camera shy. So I just rang him up one day. I think this was a year ago.
Yeah, a year ago.
I rang him up around this time a year ago. And I went, 𝐷𝐶, how do you feel about doing a podcast? And he went, nah, that's not me, mate. I'm not,
No, I couldn't do it.
He's not that far from you.
Oh, yeah.
I had to struggle to get him into my
Yeah. And it was like, and then I said to him, listen, mate, no, we have good conversations.
Yeah.
The world needs to hear these conversations. So why not?
We have to curb some of our conversations.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to.
It sounds better when we say we.
Don't drag me down your path.
What about 𝐷𝐶?
Right, my name's 𝐷𝐶, and obviously you guys have seen me around. The average Joe, just like everyone else here, we met in college and spent the next few years doing the course, and then went to uni, did that, got jobs, got married, got homes, and ended up on a podcast. I'm very camera shy.
As you do.
As you do.
Funny story. We've actually, since the age of me being 16 and him 18, 19, everything we've done together.
Yeah.
So went to college together, went to uni together, did everything together.
What did you study in uni, if you don't mind me asking?
Electronic engineering.
You did
Mechanical.
And you were mechanical.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and then first time I met him in college, it was funny. He was walking down and I'm with another friend of mine from school because we decided to go to the same college. So we're walking down and we see this juggernaut walking in front of us and we're like, I literally turned to her, I go, that guy's gonna beat us up one day. I swear down, we cannot mess with him. We cannot mess. Then we went into our class and we sat down, and we were SWATs back then, so we were like, yeah, and proper right, everything. And we see him sitting there and we thought, oh, shit, he's coming for us. He's coming for us. And then I remember the other guy turned around to me and said, we need to make him our friend. We need to make him our friend. And that's why he's my best friend now. That's why he's my best friend.
I'm there enjoying myself by myself.
My job.
Yeah.
No, look,
These guys behind me.
So if we make him our friend, no one's going to touch us forever. So
that whole thing
today we are here to discuss
the Palestinian and Israeli conflict and the intersections of Zionism.
And the reason why Chris and Yahya are here is, compared to us, we're just the layman.
Yeah.
Literally, we are just the layman. We take what other people say and we learn from other people rather than doing our own research because we don't have that academic knowledge or anything.
Yeah.
Whereas you guys,
you're
you're quite
very good with your hands.
you're quite academically inclined into this.
Yeah.
So that's why we thought it would be perfect to have this conversation with two people that know what they're talking about.
Absolutely.
So we get informed and
have all of the
we
views,
learn as well.
Our views. So, how do you want to start this podcast? What would be the first thing that you'd like to say about the Palestinian conflict?
The Zionist movement is a prefabrication that has been attached to the beautiful religion of Judaism. It was formed by an anti-religious, someone who claimed to be an ethnic Jew, someone who was the birth of the godfather of Zionism, is in essence an atheist, and believed in pretty much copying, and I know many people would be quite offended, but his ideology involving how he formed Zionism, and during the time he was forming Zionism, were from the same kind of German teachers that taught the little mustache man.
Really?
And those ideologies. Remember, the books and materials and the education that was going around in the mid to early 19th century was the white man, regardless of who he is, whether he's white, Jewish, white or something, is superior to everyone else. This is a 19th century educational position. It's been entirely laid bare, it's garbage, we are all human beings. There is very, very little different to us outside of pigment skin. That is the only difference. And the scary thing is that most Europeans don't know that we are from, the reason that they call us Caucasia is because we are from the Caucasus Mountains that is north from your, forgive me for saying this, but your original homeland of your people. Do you know what I'm saying? We, the British and the Germans and all of us tribes are closer related to the Bengalis, the Pakistanis and the Hindus and the Indians, because that's where their original proto-Indical tribes of Europe came from, when you're going back 40, 50,000 years. So the fact that there is this kind of supremacy ideology was built around foot empires, relatively speaking. It was an ideology that gave birth.
It was a political thing, wasn't it?
It was entirely. It was designed to control resources, to maintain empires, and to prove a form of kind of social superiority. The problem being is this ideology was very prolific in the 19th century, hugely prolific in the 19th century, and it affected Jewish scholars, it affected Christian scholars, it even affected a very few of the white Turkish Muslim scholars. So it wasn't something that wasn't normal everywhere. It was a prolific 19th century ideology, like we have. And I'm not ashamed to say this, like we currently have involving everybody talking about transism and all of that kind of woke, really left-wing, psychopathic, mutilate your children to stay in theme of today. That is prolific in Western society. These are the examples that I gave. So the 19th century speakers, writers and talkers, where the founder of Zionism came from, he got most of his ideological and much of his philosophical point of view from the same background as the little mustache man did when he wrote Mein Kampf. Like that. And that's you've got to put it in that broader perspective. Of colleges,
so you are basically what you eat, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to one thing that I read, and I've never really looked into this, but maybe you can help me. The word Jew wasn't Jew at the time of Musa alayhi salam.
No, they were the Israelites. They were the tribes of Israel.
So when did the word Jew and Judaism? Okay.
There is no historical direct provocation of it. Somewhere between Babylonian and Roman times is roughly where it is, but not the time of Musa during the time of the Egyptian rule. So we're talking probably around minus 1500 BCE. Going upwards, but we don't have an exact date.
Okay.
It could be as early as the late Roman period of it.
So,
maybe the likelihood is that they claim that name from the province of Judea itself, and that's where it kind of.
And that's where,
they basically we are of the people of Judea.
Jew.
So now, a bit of background to. Shall we start from World War One?
No.
Oh.
No, absolutely not. The problem with modern day Zionism is it claims that there is a persecution of the Jewish ethnic groups. The problem being is we have learned over painful time, research, development, especially with the modern day geneticism, that there is no such thing, and I don't care how controversial it is, but there is no such thing as the Jewish tribes that are in Europe today. The closest people that can claim to be the ancient Semitical tribes were the Jewish believers inside of the Muslim lands at the time before the advent of the birth of modern Israel.
Definitely.
The European Jews are Poles.
Yeah.
The European Jews are Czechs. Not even a problem. The scientists will say this is why it's illegal
to do DNA tests.
DNA tests inside of Israel without the government's approval.
Yeah.
And this is the fundamental point of view, because it gives you a very clear indication that their claim, one of their biggest claims, is to their rights by ancestral genetical material.
Now, if we talk about that one particular topic where they say 3,000 years ago it was promised to us and all that kind of stuff.
Islamically, we believe that.
Yes, but then the bit that they leave out is that they were exiled from them lands.
By Allah.
By Allah, yeah.
God through
and their rabbis and the Jewish rabbis also accept this. Not the Zionists, but the Jewish rabbis. They've been. So we went to a talk in Blackburn, and there was a really old, really nice Jewish rabbi there, and he was talking, and he even explained it all from his terms, saying we were exiled from them lands. So we can't go back to that land until
David's heir appears.
Exactly.
And that's a religious point of view, Chris. Basically, the idea around Zionism is that the Jews must have a homeland now. We can't wait for the prophet. You see, but from a religious point of view, the Jewish nation needs to arrive. For us, it's the return of Isa, Jesus' return, which is in some parts of the Christian world, which you might be aware, that's the Ragnarok, that's the end of the world type of thing. The situation with the genetical legacy point of view is that is used as an argument by Zionists that we are Ashkenazi, we are Ben Gesserit, we are of these ancient Jewish tribes. There's absolutely no historical or near-naval proof of this. In fact, if they had actual proof, we would be seeing it 9 to 5 on every channel, because we know full well how supportive Western politicians are and the Western political system is, because of, I mean, there were horrific crimes that were committed against the Jews. Of course. No one's sitting here.
I've got a question about that. So, I don't know how true this is, but this is what I've read and seen over the past couple of months or whatever. So, going back to the mustache man, they've said he's killed over 6 million Jews. That number, I've read, it was inflated a lot.
No. There are 6 million people that were killed by him, including Jews, disabled people, homosexuals.
See, that part, the second part you've said, they've always missed that out. They always say 6 million Jews.
It's always quite often mentioned that it's 6 million Jews. 6 million. It's not. Quite really, Mustache Man killed 6 million people directly in concentration camps.
Which included Jews.
Which included Jews, included disabled people, included gays. Now, admittedly, the Jews were the bulk of that. Let's not kid ourselves. The Jews were very much the lion's share of that. There were disabled people, homosexuals.
And any decent human in this day and age wouldn't disregard that.
No, you can't.
No one would. That's
their trauma. They've been through that.
Absolutely. Millions of Jews were murdered. They were gassed. The chambers physically existed. The over-inflation and observation specifically on the Jewish community is something that I directly object to, because there were hundreds of thousands of other innocent people, disabled people, put down because they weren't part of the Aryan ideology, which was a very clear indication of perfect man, blonde, blue-eyed, stunning hair, massive muscles, looked perfect, feminine kind of women. The ideological reason why we are still suffering the blowback of what it means to be masculine or feminine in today's society, because of the ideology coming from Hitler and the 19th century. It still has a blowback to us to this very day.
So, let's start at... Because the whole purpose of this podcast is to educate those and us the actual story of how Zionism started.
So Zionism started in the 19th century as a political movement. There is always the conversation about the Torah and the Jewish people who return to their home. Well, this was never a problem under any point of any caliphate. Any of the Muslims, for 1,000 years, Jews, Christians and Muslims lived side by side.
Yeah, definitely.
With no problems. And this, historically, are not even open for question.
It is,
this is a conversational position. This is historical record. When the Muslims were expelled from Al-Andalusia, the Jews asked them to come with them. They got on the same boats as them because of the way that they were persecuted by the Christian kings of Spain. So the idea that the Jewish world has ever been truly persecuted by Muslims is garbage.
It's not true.
Garbage. It can't be proven. What we come to after the late 1800s, which is the late 19th century, coming into the 20th century, is the rise of absolute nationalism. And I apologise to any of the Arabs that come here, but they were dog-whistled by the British Empire.
Definitely, yeah.
The British Empire wanted access to the newly discovered massive amounts of oil reserves that were underneath the Middle East. Okay, this is where it started becoming an acute thing. The dying empire, they didn't know they were a dying empire, but the dying empire wanted access to this vast resource, and they did this by sowing rebellion and discontent amongst the Arab lords. Okay, I have nothing but this scorn for the Arab nationalists. I, as a Muslim man, have a problem with anybody calling themselves Syrian or Jordanian or even Saudi Arabian. I have no problems giving them any further. They are a nationalistical identity that is very much, what you don't understand, Chris, is we Muslims talk about us as the Ummah. We say we are one people, one religion, one community. These are my brothers in faith. So that is the kind of ideology we use as others. But Arab nationalism was sown by imperialistic Britain to form
divide and conquer
division in the Ottoman Empire. Now, I'm not defending the Ottomans' belief systems. A'udhu billah, I'm not going to sit here and defend how the Ottomans, because they weren't proper Muslims. We can all pretty much say that
towards the end.
We're not talking the early Ottomans where they
we're talking the 1800s onwards.
They were bad Muslims. They were bad Muslim rulers. We're not going to discuss why, because that's talking ill of the dead. But sufficient to say that the ideological positions were used to exasperate the Arab nationalists, and cementing this many rebellions gave opportunities for Western imperial empires to snatch up the land. That is the entry level of modern Zionism.
Yeah. So is that when Saudi Arabia were used as a pawn to defeat the Ottomans?
Not just them. There are probably 15 or 16 other rebel groups that we barely know anything about.
Okay.
Because what you've got to understand is the Saudi Arabians were one of the successful groups. So they were one of 14, 15 different groups of small Arab nationalist movements that were going on at that time.
And they were promised Palestine, the land of Palestine and all that.
No, they were promised everything. They were promised everything. As long as they fought the Ottomans. And then once the Ottoman Empire started to crumble physically after the Second World War, Britain swept in, took over the mandate. You had France in Syria, you had the Italians further down, you had the empires just swallowing the Middle East. Yeah. And then what was left was given to things
it was because of the disarray of what was happening and how they had
shattered
shattered because around pre-Britain going there and doing what they did, there was am I right in saying it was there was no Arab nationalism. They were strong within themselves.
No, that's not fair.
There's always been nationalism.
There's always been a form of nationalism because the Arabs disliked the idea that the Egyptians had taken over, who they don't necessarily call Arabs most of the time.
No, they don't. They call them Africans.
They didn't like the fact that you had the Sassanids that came afterwards and the Fatimids. These are different groups of Muslims with different ethnicities to the Arabs. Yeah. So because of that, when it came to the Ottomans, and as far as anyone's concerned, anyone in the Muslim world, especially the Middle East, genuinely considered the Ottomans the European Muslims. Yeah. They see them more than us, the diaspora point of view from the Bengalis, Pakistanis. They're talking they are the traditional European Muslims. Yeah. So that was considered a betrayal of that the Caliphate had moved to these European Muslims. Okay. And that was cemented. So to say that Arab nationalism didn't exist before the British, the British just brought the arms, the weapons, the equipment.
Give them the tools.
Link them together, do what they have to do.
And as I said, the Saudi Arabians are just the most famous. Amongst the 𝐸⁸ are the successful rebels. They're the successful ones. They're the ones who built their kingdom out of the Ottoman Empire. Now, I'm not saying that the caliphate was a legitimate Islamic caliphate at that point.
It wasn't.
What you've got to understand is Arab nationalism has always been in the undersurface. They always perceived themselves as the first tribe of us Muslims. Where we are taught quite regularly, we are one ummah. We are all one people. Yeah. The situation from the 19th century was exasperation after the Second World War. Britain was bankrupt. We need to put that into a position here. Britain was financially up a creek with no paddle after the Second World War. It was still a power. It was a fading power, but it was a power. Who was going to pay these debts? and in comes the Balfour Accord. Now,
Yep.
this documentation, I think, is the greatest criminal documentation how people, my Christian people, ever signed. Without any reservations.
Sorry about that. I'm really paranoid about it. I am.
And this is one of the things that Chris is less aware than what you are. The Balfour Accord, he thought was a peace treaty to the withdrawal. It's a land sale.
Yeah.
It has always been a bill of sale of land.
Yeah. And it was a double cross, wasn't it?
Yeah, of course, because on paper, the Palestinians were going to have land.
Yeah.
The British establishment knew. The infamously disgusting thing Winston Churchill said, the dog in the manger.
Yeah.
Now, Chris, did you know the quote from that?
I did read it once, a while ago.
In essence, Chris, what it is the dog in the manger is that Winston Churchill said, no matter how long the Palestinians have been there, they are like the dog in Jesus' manger. They have no right to the land.
Yeah.
They have no history to the land. They should go to other places where other kennels are. That's a paragraphing of what Winston Churchill said about people who had lived in that land for 1,000 years.
Dark side of Winston Churchill, you didn't even know.
Yeah.
I mean, many people who dig under the surface realise that Winston Churchill is not a good bloke. He murdered tens of thousands of Britons in the battles of Gallipoli. He, historically speaking, from winning the Second World War, we thank him. Yeah. Historically, we do, because he did stop the axis of evil. Let's be fair; it would have been worse. British imperialism. What we've got today, I'm not here crowing on what America's done or Israel is. It could have been a lot. It could have been a lot worse. Definitely. Under Nazi Germany. So let's give credit to where credit is due for Winston Churchill. He was the right. Allah put him there in the right place, but he was not a good man. Yeah. There has to be an asterisk put to his name. Yeah. And I know many Britons have a problem with that, Chris, but you have to. When you read about Winston Churchill's history, what he did in the Gallipoli, what he did to the Irish famines, this was the man who oversaw so many disasters in the British Empire. And I could probably credit him being responsible for a lot of the decline in the British Empire, historically speaking. He could easily be argued as the person who led to a lot of its decline because of his governorships and his absolute balls up. It was benignly evil, the British Empire. To call the British Empire evil was a bit of a misconception. It was evil by its incompetence.
And I think that's been recognised a lot by a lot of the younger generation growing up now.
No, because they think it's just pure evil. That's what I need to make.
Yeah.
The general British subject was not evil. The general British soldier wasn't. In fact, much of the harm that could have been done during the Indian occupation, since we were talking about the British Empire, a lot of it was stopped by common British soldiers. I mean, I hate to go on a bit of a small tangent over this. British slavery wasn't stopped by educational people coming up. It was people like me and Chris having relationships with ex-slaves. You know, my sister, let's put me in an 18th century possession. My sister's married a black man who's a slave, who's an ex-slave, and these fuckers are coming from my brother-in-law and his kids. I grabbed my boy Chris and we beat the shit out of him. That was normal in Birmingham. That was normal in Liverpool. And that's the ground upwards is how anti-slavery came into place. Okay. And I think people underestimate that point of history. But back to the Palestinians, the Balfour Accord, which was signed, was a bill of sale to modern Zionists. And modern Zionists have such an anathema to the religion, to the true religious Jewish community. Because the religious Jew community will tell you can't do almost anything that Zionism has done. And that was one of the most important things I was told by an actual religious Jewish friend of mine. He said to me, my religion does not hold in comparison to anything modern Zionism has done or is doing.
Of course. There's no link between them.
Yeah. But they use this link because they want to isolate us so they can use it.
And it's important to establish that, because a lot of people still do believe that Zionism equals
it's a massive differentiation.
Chris was thinking this literally less than 2 weeks ago. Until I showed him the difference between Zionism and Judaism. He was a general British layperson who had said, if I said to you, the Jewish nation, you mean Zionism? No, you need to get that off our table now. And
two separate entities.
One is a political movement that means to control the resources and human lives of those people in the Middle East.
Yeah, one of our cousins.
Our two views, one was Zionism and the other one was good with money.
And I mean, to be fair, unfortunately, the Zionists do by politicians.
Yeah, what to do?
They do, but the Zionists, now they've infiltrated everywhere. So you're looking at any of the world elites, there's going to be a Zionist sat there.
Absolutely. And I mean, Keir Starmer now is on a rock and a hard place to bring that to British politics, which is what me and Chris tend to enjoy quite a bit.
On your podcast.
On our podcast, is that he was, or still is to relatively say, a Zionist. He himself. And now he can't hide from the horrors that are now emerging out of Palestine. But back into the historical point of view, the modern Zionist Bill of Sales and the Nakba are the root cause of modern Palestinian and general world grievances with the modern Zionist state.
So if we're talking about the Nakba, it was when the Zionists slowly started moving over on ships into the land of Palestine.
They were invited.
They were invited.
No,
they were invited.
The Palestinians, that's one of those things that was shocked Chris.
Yeah.
The Palestinians invited.
Invited,
They were like, come,
You can see the pictures. You can see the pictures, welcome and all that kind of stuff.
Come see us, be with us, be safe.
Yeah.
And like the original Jewish women and children were absolutely astounded.
And this was all because of a direct consequence of what the Mustache Man was doing. So after that, all the Jews were fleeing to a land, and it was the Palestinians, it was the Muslims that brought them over. Absolutely. It wasn't the British that were saying come to England. It wasn't or to Britain. It was the Palestinians that said come to us.
The problem being is there is a massive correlation between nationalism, even back then in the 1920s, nationalism and Zionism. They have been bedfellows for a very long time. Right. This is why people like Tommy Robinson gets paid by Zionists.
Yeah, because they're two of the same blocks.
Because for the nationalists, we can solve the Jewish problem by putting it in someone else's bed. And that's exactly what the nationalists want. And they're no different today than what they were in the 20th century.
No.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the 20th
same
century.
goal, same people.
Same kind of argument and grievances.
So so talk to us about the Nakba. So
the Nakba basically was where 700,000 Palestinians lost their homes because of Arab nationalist nations invading the state of Israel. And I need to reinforce this point. Arab nationalist nations set up by Britain, France, and now pseudo-natively America, as America's power started to grow in the 50s and 60s, are responsible, relatively speaking, the destruction of this ummah, the collapse of the caliphate, even if it was corrupt, was a knock-on effect from British imperialistical handling that led to Arab nationalists believing they could destroy this new nation that was receiving enormous amounts of arms and equipment from the West. I mean, people say that Israel makes a statement, oh, we were on our own. Yes, militarily, but soldiers on foot, yes, that's true. You weren't on. Israel has never, ever been on its own. Ever. No. It has had billionaire bankers in its corner.
From day one.
Day one. They're part of the founders of this project.
It's the love child of the West.
Absolutely. Unquestionably. And the armaments of Western tanks. Britain left them tanks, weapons, artillery pieces. The Jewish nation was armed by the West from day one. Yeah. And that is where the Nakba happened. This was 700,000 Palestinians lost their homes. In one complete go.
So that was... You've got the Zionists moving over from Europe. They go into Palestine. Now, how... You're saying that was a direct effect of Arab nationalism and...
No, the war that came afterwards, when the international community said we should have it as two nations, in that beginning stage, and I have to defend the Zionists now, in the beginning stage, the Zionists actually agreed. They agreed to the split of the Palestinian mandate into two nations.
So now that's where my problem is. Why does it have to be?
It didn't have to be. They should. The Balfour Accord, I've already mentioned the Balfour Accord should never have been signed.
Yeah,
it was a.
That's like saying the UK. Like, what's his name? Churchill say, okay, you can have Wales.
Yeah, no, exactly.
You know how I mean? You can't do that.
Exactly, and that's exactly what Chris was saying. You know, when we were eating, he said, to me, "Hang on a minute, you wouldn't sell Wales."
That's what I'm saying. It makes no sense.
And I mean, this is why I've got this connotation. The Balfour Accord, but once that's been done, remember the United Nations was set up by the failing British Empire, supported by the American growing power. So the UN had a bad decision on their table. So in the UN's bad decision, after the Balfour, after the Jewish...
So they were saying two state.
They turned it into a two-state. Now at the time, the Jewish nation agreed to this, because they wanted their own state.
Now, a lot of why there's a lot of backlash today goes back to that one particular point.
Yeah.
Why two-state? In that moment, there should have been, no, this shouldn't be two states. These are the lands owned, belonging to the Palestinians.
Absolutely.
But because of that argument happening there at that point where you
prior
said...
to that, prior to the UN, the Balfour Sale, the mandate, the empire had the military means. Military might makes right in most parts of the world. And I hate to say it like that, but it really is.
Wasn't the Balfour Declaration a sale rather than two state?
No, it was a sale.
No. The Bill of Sale was there would be land put aside for the Palestinians.
Oh, they would. All right. Okay. All right. Okay.
The Israelis defied it. They've defied it entirely.
Yeah.
They've swallowed almost all of the mandate by themselves at this point. They're constantly trying to pursue the mandate that's in Jordan, the mandate that's physically in Syria. Because remember, these countries, the mandate
they're as great Israel as they say.
Israel, as they quite often commonly say. But the Palestinian, in the original Balfour Accord, it was to divide it into two states, one for the Arabs, one for the Jews. Yeah. That was the idea. Now, of course, Britain had no legal right to do that. The Balfour Accord is morally bankrupt because it is. It's to pay our war debts. We're selling land that we were authorised by the rest of the Western world at the end of the Second World War to administer for the locals. That was the initial intention of the mandate.
Okay. So we've got the Nakba.
Yes.
700,000 Palestinians lost their homes.
Forced out.
Yeah, forced out.
Became refugees.
Now,
in their own country.
In their own country.
Yeah, I know.
And now
that's insane.
Now you see Zionism is now rising in the lands of Palestine.
Yeah.
So what happens after that?
After that, we have two massive mistake wars, relatively speaking. The Arab nations shouldn't have conflicted with them for the very reason they gave the fuel. They fueled the ideology of Zionism. And this was the insidious nature of divide and rule conquest intelligence of the British Empire. Britain is still a declining power, but a power in the 1950s. She still has most of her apparatus. She still had most of her carrier fleets. She was capable of intimidating people. So it is entirely plausible when they put together these Arab nations, they were to be subservient.
Yeah,
but of course, Arab nationalism, any form of nationalism, doesn't do well with those that aren't of your nationalism creed.
Yeah.
It's like, in the technical term, we three are Muslims, but if you were Muslim supremacist, you would accept Tizzy more than me.
Do you understand what I'm
trying to get at? So that's roughly how it works. Even though I'm Muslim, you're Muslim, he's Muslim.
It still happens today.
Yeah.
Still happens today.
I wouldn't have been that.
Still happens today. Wallahi, I'm not even joking. With Arabs and especially Saudi Arabian Arabs, we go to Umrah, we go to Hajj, we go to do pilgrimage. When we go and do pilgrimage there, there's a lot of you see hundreds of different cultures, people, races, ethnicities, and everything. And you go there, and you've got the Arabs that are native to that land. Yeah. You can see it. It's happened to me personally while I was there. I'm not going to say obviously go into detail, but it's happened personally to me, so I can testify to say it's happened. Yeah. And it still happens today.
Yeah. Arab nationalism is a cancer. Yeah. And it's one of many cancers.
Would you say all nationalism?
Chris, all national. Yeah, no, it's a discussion.
To a degree. To a degree.
Doesn't lead down a very bright path.
What if nationalism, but it's kept tamed? So love for
it's like a gateway drug, I think.
Love for your country. So if I was
see, that's not nationalism. That's patriotism. People mix nationalism with patriotism. Chris is a patriot. Chris cares about you, your family. He cares about your town. He was commenting about what was around the town. He's a patriot. I'm a patriot. Do not mix patriotism with nationalism.
Right. So that's an important point.
Excluding anyone. Like I give an example. One of the reasons why I don't like the argument of Zionism is I use a very European point of view. Chris likes this one. I say, as an Irishman, as a 13th generation Irishman, so my grandfather says, I want this English dog off my ancestral land because my Essenian ancestors used to rule all of this. It's outrageous.
That would be nationalism.
That's nationalism.
That's nationalism.
Me being an Irishman, caring about my country and what the direction Britain goes, and Britain should work for all Britons. That's patriotism. We need to separate the difference between patriotic behaviour.
So there's an element in
Nationalism tries to cross over with it all the time.
Well, nationalism, there's an element of racism, there's and all of them
xenophobia.
And all of them isms.
Patriotism is case effective. You're proud of yourself and your land and everything within it, regardless of
according
skin colour or anything else.
So according to your belief, Chris, about patriotism, could we as third generation, second generation immigrants into the country be patriotic?
Yeah, you can do. Yeah, no issue.
Yes,
because you've already established roots within UK. So
you pay
naturally.
From my point of view, excluding from my Muslim point of view, you pay taxes, you care about your community, you raise children here, you build businesses here. You're fucking British. Let's just call that exactly as it is. Skin colour has no bearing on 90% of the white community of Britain could not give a skin colour. They care. One of the things that me and Chris rail about is about the fact we live on 8% of our land here in Britain. Only 8% of this land is turned into
in towns and cities.
Town, city,
the rest of it's farmland.
8%.
And
that is a problem. There is the physical resources that everyone's using, everyone's worried about, and this leads to a creep to nationalism.
So if we're talking about nationalism in terms of the Zionist
attachment. Zionists are massive in the financial and banking world. I mean, some of their biggest backers are multi-billionaires, and they have no qualms paying for people like Tommy Robinson.
Yeah, of course.
And paying for people like Douglas Bloody Murray. That man. And I've had this quote for some time. I think it's an appropriate one I want to do here.
Is it an exclusive? It's an exclusive.
Absolutely. You know the quote of Douglas Murray talking about how the Philistinians are not liked by the Egyptians and their Moses. I've got one for you here. Douglas Murray. He's despised by the English. The Welsh, they can't stand him. The Scottish loathe him. No one cares what Douglas Bloody Murray thinks. That is an echo of the reality that we live here in Britain. That a man that small, with that small an ideology and education, is allowed to be on national fucking television.
Yep.
It boggles my brain.
It's propped up. He's propped up.
Of course, and it's propped up by Zionist money.
Yeah.
That is there is a checkbook, Chris. I've been telling you this is a checkbook attacking Muslims.
Yeah.
Attacking immigrants.
Have you noticed on BBC, for example, when they're having an interview with a pro-Palestinian either content creator, either a politician, or anyone who's pro-Palestinian, and the word genocide comes up? Have you ever noticed how they trip up? They will never ever admit genocide within the context of Palestine and Israel.
Because they have a director who's ex-Mossad.
Well, there you go then.
They have
Do you see what I mean?
I don't know where it is, but there is a director. You cannot be, in my opinion...
Even Talk TV, even Piers Morgan, who's his boss called? He's a well-known Zionist that runs the whole Talk.
But the problem being is he's now actually backlash. The backlash is so bad now.
But I have a theory about that. The reason why I think, because we know that these elites, and I'm not putting Piers Morgan in that category. He's a mouthpiece of an elite. Yeah, exactly like you said. His boss is an elite. His boss's boss is an elite.
Yeah.
They know things that we don't know before it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So they probably know that the tides are turning.
Yeah.
The tides are turning. Israel is losing. And it's going to be over soon, maybe. We need to get onto the right side because we've been propping up the wrong side this whole time. It could. That's my theory.
You think that they're switching sides now because
they know something's going to happen.
The ship's sinking basically, and they're trying to get a life raft.
The reality is that Western Europe is beyond horrified. The politicians of Western Europe
they just pick and choose. That's all.
The French don't want anything to do with it. The German populace don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Spain has definitely said from day one.
Yeah, of course, my people, the Irish.
Bless them. Bless the Irish.
What you don't know about one of the reasons the Irish are so pro-Muslim. This is something you wouldn't be aware of. Back in the 1800s, my people were being starved by the British Empire. They were saying, "Oh fuck this stuff." The Ummah fed us.
Yeah.
They sent ships.
Who was it? Was it Turkey? Innit?
The
Ottoman Empire.
Sent food. Sent two of them stealthily, two ships stealthily, so he didn't embarrass Queen Victoria, and two publicly to Queen Victoria. He fed us, and the Irish people have never forgotten that. Never forgotten that.
And it's a matter of you can relate. You can relate to it.
When Queen Victoria says found out he's sending 4 ships, she wrote him a letter saying, "You're gonna disrespect me. Only send 2 because I'm gonna be sending a certain amount." And that's when they sent 2 silently.
Yeah. They said they the 2 of them. They turned they changed the flags. They turned them into Irish shippers.
Yeah.
It was they literally put a couple of Irish merchantmen on the damn thing, hanged the Irish Irish
That was class.
and just sent them off.
Yeah, that was class.
He wasn't not sending them. He sent them anyway. And that is why the Irish people have so often backed up the Palestinians, because we see it as a debt of blood that we owe them. My grandfather's people are alive from the food that came in from the Ummah.
But not just a debt of blood, but it's also
We know the oppression.
you know what it feels like.
Yeah.
You know what it feels like. And
you can't, like we say, you can't sit here in our house with a full belly and your neighbour next door is starving.
Yeah.
You have to help. You have to.
you can't.
It's a part of your religion.
And that's the whole point of being one ummah.
Yeah.
Is being part of the ummah. And I would like to extend that not just to the Muslims as well, but being part of the ummah. So we as Muslims are part of the ummah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And part of that ummah means you look after your brethren, you look after your Muslim brothers and sisters, right? So if your neighbour, you have to look after your neighbour as a Muslim as much as you would look after your blood brothers.
Yeah.
But I'd like to also extend that to neighbours and non-Muslims as well, because non-Muslims are the ummah of our ummah.
Yeah.
So we're the ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Our non-Muslim friends and family are our ummah, right? And
our gathering, our group,
our group. Now, for example, what you two have here, a Muslim and a non-Muslim, like brothers, you would do anything for each other, ride or die kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to be like.
I mean, I've regularly said I'll take a bullet for him.
Yeah.
And his reply is,
"You're the one I'm getting shot at."
he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I'm probably the person who caused the problem. I would take a bullet for him.
My bullet.
I would slap him after, so I'm going to finish this. Give me a second.
He's one of them, isn't he? Chris, they're shooting at you.
But that's the problem, you know. Like you could just see the scenario. It's like, that's the bad boys. We're getting shot at, and I'm definitely Mike. We're getting shot at because of you.
Right. So after the Nakba, the now Zionists have more control.
Yes.
Of the lands of Palestine.
The international law recognises they illegally occupy the West Bank and Gaza. It's entirely illegal. The settlements are all illegal. The entire lot. Even by British, you won't hear many British politicians say it, but the British judges and much of the old apparatus will say to you that is still illegal. And the politicians just nod and kind of try to avert the conversation, because they know a lot of their political party is financed by Zionist money. And that's something he hates. The idea that these people are financially in our politicians. What is your opinion on modern Zionism?
I was literally just going to...
Modern Zionism is a pain in the bloody ass in terms of issues. But the thing that concerns me the most is the fact they've amassed such wealth and everything else that they're starting to control not just our government, probably others as well, by buying people off in order to get their way, which... morally is wrong anyway, and does not. The only thing it serves is their goal, their interests, which doesn't benefit any of us. Because of the fact, from what I've seen, based on the behaviour of everything that's gone on, is they want their way. Everyone else can sod off.
Right. Okay. Just for example, here, if I was to say to you, Chris, that Muslims want their own police force and their own hospitals, what would you say to that?
What's the point in that? You're only caused to divide.
Jews have that.
Well,
if you
no, not
in Manchester.
That's not the British Zionist movement.
Okay,
so
sorry.
I think it's unfair to say to the British movement.
Well,
The London British Zionists.
So in Manchester, the community of Jews there, they're Orthodox.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say they're Zionists.
There are Zionists amongst them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I've been, as I said, I've got a friend who's a rabbi. I know that there are Zionists. They're not. There is Zionist movements in every Jewish community.
So they've the Zionism has actually gone in and infiltrated into Orthodox.
Yes, absolutely.
Jewish.
I would not be in the, he believes so.
Right.
He believes so. He believes that there are Zionist people who are listening and supporting Zionism and reporting to the embassy down in his. That is his belief system. He doesn't have any proof to it. He says there are conversations you cannot have in the Jewish community because you don't know
people are listening.
who are listening.
Wow. I had no idea.
One of the first things Zionism did was to fear and frighten and isolate the Jews from the rest of the world. That is one of those conversations that keep people out of the life.
Fear and frighten.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're taking a page out of someone's playbook.
Yeah. But he didn't get that. They got that from the 19th century scholars. I don't remember the names of them because it's a little bit out of my time depth. But the 19th century genre gave birth to Hitler, gave birth to Stalin. You look at all the evil, the truly fucking evil men were from the scholarly pursuits of Stalin, Karl Marx, all of these people, Mussolini, the one in Spain, I can't remember his name, the Spanish general. They were all influenced by the same intellectual groups in the late 18th century, early 19th century.
Right. So if we're going back to the, you were saying, the two mistaken wars.
Yeah, the two mistaken wars. So we have the Arab, the Arab war, and then you have the 6 Day War. These two wars were born from nationalism, and I personally feel that they were planted there deliberately to allow the Zionists to have a context to take all of the land.
Right.
As insidious as that sounds, remember, these are the people who paid off the British Empire's debts, whole chunks of them.
Right, so you're saying them wars were put in place.
I do believe that was the case.
Yeah, so as a gateway for Zionism to completely take over.
Yeah, absolutely. I genuinely feel that the Arab wars were fed, the ideology of Arab nationalism was fed in a specific way by specific British imperial agents that would absolutely guarantee once the Jewish nation is born, there was conflict. There was no attempt to negotiate history. The Arab nationalists, being very young nations at their time, remember these countries are very young, relatively speaking, saw an opportunity to attack. There was no... The ideology that came behind them is what people don't want to ask questions.
And were these Arab countries given promises?
I'm certain of it.
We
can't prove it.
Yeah, but logically thinking about it,
absolutely.
Do this and we'll give you this. Do this and we'll give you that.
Yeah. I think that the Arab nations thought that Britain would arm them. Because Britain was the biggest armed
still oil as well. They also needed sales for their oil. Because that's the time where they kind of found that oil.
Yeah, because America had a big
50-year deal, 60-year deal.
Yeah, with one of the oil companies.
So the reality is you've got... They genuinely thought that they could win this war in a nationalistical point of view. Where does the nationalistical ideology come from? It came from the British Empire. The British Empire set it up. When you're going to set up a nation, Britain's brilliant at this. It's horrifically
they've done
brilliant.
it.
They've done it so many times. They've set up entire countries. They did it in the 17th, 18th century. You can see the bedrock of British history of them setting up countries. There's a way that they twist certain ideologies, whisper in the right ear. Take an example. I don't know if the early Zionists allowed it, but there are examples of not the British Raj, but the British African countries that were run by Africans, but their advisors were British. And that is the type of ideological...
It's almost as if like it's happening back in Britain again.
Yeah.
Because if you look at Reform them, it's almost...
It's cancer.
Yeah, it's almost as if like those old tactics...
We had a thought as we came into your town, how much is Reform actually gaining ground here?
Not much.
Not much.
Serious, because the flag waving up here is stark. You don't find that in Gloucester.
Really?
There is enormous levels of Union Jacks over this place.
Like, so just down one street we saw like 10 flags and it was like we're looking for 10 flags in Gloucester.
In Blackburn, you must have gone down one of them streets where it's all there. But majority of Blackburn is
as soon as you take a left or right.
That's the reason why, and we'll probably talk about it in another podcast.
We'll show you around.
But that's the reason why Labour didn't win here. None of the main parties won, and an independent won.
Okay.
But we'll talk about that at some point.
Of course, absolutely. But to get back towards the after the Nakbas, the Arab wars were engineered. In my belief, and again, it's only a belief system, but I believe that the way that Arab nationalism was fed into the Arab nations in their infancy, they thought they had a lot more supporters than they actually did. And then the weapons, arms and equipment against the Zionist nation allowed the Zionists to take Gaza, take West Bank, which were previously held by Jordan and Egypt and the like, and then take all of Jerusalem.
So with there's in around that time in the 70s, I think, mid 70s, what happened was there was the point where Zionists, Israel had entered Egypt.
The Sinai. Yes. As I said, as I have previously made clear, I'm not great on the warfare when it comes towards these conflicts. I tend to look at more the socio-political aspects than the actual conflict. But in my own belief, I believe that was used militarily to pressure the Egyptians to come out of Gaza.
Okay.
And you said something about the king, the
actual noble
king of Saudi
Arabia? What I've read was it was the Israelis went into the Sinai Desert for the whole Greater Israel project. They were met with the Egyptian forces clashing, and then Saudi Arabia, like you said before, there may have been some good rulers at the time that came. Basically what they did was they stopped the oil. I think it was through a company that America had set up in Saudi. I'm not sure what company it was. It was the only company there. But anyways, they stopped in, like you were saying, Tish, in phases. They stopped the oil going to America, which meant that America then had to put pressure on Israel to get out of the Sinai, which then would switch that.
But that still gave the right pressure for Egypt not to continue interfering with Gaza.
Yeah.
That was the indication. That was one of the geopolitical goals was for them to influence Egypt to stay out of the Gazan business.
Yeah.
What baffles me is, like, obviously I can think how people should, as Muslims, react to a certain situation. So if I was a leader of a Muslim country, I couldn't sit back and watch my neighbours in the east.
Now, I understand the argument that many of the Arab lords have is we would be squashed. The least you should do if you have the threat of the annihilation of your country is not to trade with the people who are oppressing.
Just simple.
That
basic.
should be the basic.
The baseline of anything.
I'm telling you this now, that if someone was persecuting the French and the Germans and we didn't feel strong enough as Britain to deal with it, we would stop trading with them.
At least at minimum.
That would be the minimal requirement, I genuinely think. Don't you think, Chris?
Yeah.
You stop doing business. You can't stop them because, let's say they've got starships or something like that, but you don't trade with the people.
Yeah.
You don't help them, army.
Because at the end of the day, you still got to think about your own people in that country. You still got to think that if I go to war with America, I'm going to get battered.
There's no question about it.
We have to obviously understand that as well. No, and that's one of the things that I've been trying to mention to comments in my videos when I talk about this or when I put on my Instagram. And people do mention, I just don't understand Arab leaders. Look, I understand where you're coming from. I get the frustration, but you have to also understand that the Arab leaders, you've got the UAE leaders, you've got the
they
Saudi.
Would absolutely get obliterated. Britain, and I'm horrible to say this, even with the crumbling state of the British military, it would still take out 2 or 3 of the Arab states. Militarily, it would. And it is an absolute farce for an old power.
And now if you're thinking about America, who are Israel's biggest supporters.
No, relatively, I would say politically now the only.
The only,
Macron's turning. I don't think Britain's leader, the Prime Minister, cannot back Israel. He knows that.
You've seen a turn in the past few weeks where he's just done he's doing 180 slowly.
This is as Billy said earlier in the podcast, that where Piers Morgan is turning because the elites know that the bridge is broken, that there is now no way for them to ignore what's going on.
And now, so I also have an opinion on that as well. It's like you've done Piers Morgan, right? And I want to say this on this podcast. Piers Morgan, you've done a year and a half, close to 2 years now, soon to be 2 years, worth of damage of Israeli false propaganda.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, the fact that you're now just turning tide and then they're just going to talk about, it is now a genocide that's going on.
It's because you can't defend it anymore.
It doesn't.
That's the problem.
it doesn't repair all of the damage. So he has to now do something to repair all of that bullshit damage that he's done.
There is, in my humble opinion, I genuinely, this is, and I'm unapologetic about saying this now. Me and Chris have come to the conclusion that we need to go into politics once we've made it as podcasters. We need to become Liberal Democrats. We need to drive for the working people, all the working people, all the way.
But they never, no one's ever gone into politics, and in my 35 years I've been alive in here, no one's ever gone in and made a really good decision on change.
You have to change the tax.
The
only way you can do it is it's two points. One, you win the argument with the people. You get a majority, and you make sure your majority ticket. The argument you have is we are going to take these steps as your manifesto, and the most important step, without any shadow of doubt, as far as me and Chris are concerned, is change the fucking tax system, because there's 113,000 pages of tax, and most of them are exempts.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah. I've literally looked at it.
Billy, the Weatherspoons managers, 80 to 90% of this country is carrying the weight, whilst 10% of the super rich are not. The exempts are the problem. We have to close them all. The tax system has to be right. You change that, and I swear to you, wallahi, I swear to you, your lives will improve.
Yeah, we've said,
You'll lose businesses over it.
Yeah, you will. Yeah. You will. Companies will fold.
And the companies will go away from the UK and open up somewhere else. Yeah. But those that remain to stay
will see the prosperity of the people. Yeah. The roads will be fixed. The NHS won't be desperate for money. You fix the tax system first. That is the most critical thing you can do. It's the one message me and Chris have got as political podcasters. Fix the tax system, you can fix Britain's every other problem. I feel like
the tax system was set up for people, for the average or everyday 9 to 5 workers, not to get to a certain level.
No. It was, no. Technically
it might have started off that way.
That's what I'm saying. It feels like that's what, every time you pay tax, you're not seeing any results.
The reason that you're not seeing results is because, one, we live on 8% of our land. I cannot stress the fact that only 8% of Britain is used by us.
You could fit all of the UK in Cornwall.
You really could. You could fit us population in Cornwall. You could fit our farming in Cornwall and Gloucestershire. So much of Britain's land is unattuned because of the green belt. You need to suspend that. And I know that's unpopular with many of the environmentalists, but you have to suspend it, because you need to now deal with the fact that 50 years ago, we were 45 million people.
Double that now.
We are now 71 million people. We have to acknowledge that. If you magically waved a wand, a Harry Potter wand, I know I don't like talking about it, you wave a Harry Potter wand and all the brown people were left, you would not have enough housing for everyone still standing. This is an acute problem. There are 30-year-olds living at home now.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, there are 30-year-olds living at home with their parents now. And that's because of the lack of fucking housing. And the lack of housing is the lack of taxing. A lack of affordability. You have to make radical changes in the general political processes of Britain. And it has to be done for the absolute basis of every working, breathing, tax-paying Britain. And the corporate world can fuck itself.
Has the tax system been the same from, let's just say, from the 1930s to now? Has it always been
1600s?
Should we?
It's been the same since the 1600s.
1600s.
Should we save this conversation for the next podcast? Because this is a good piece, and we're talking about that.
You'll splice that onto that one, definitely. We'll apologise for that.
I'll take a bit of that. And
absolutely.
No, because that is these are good points, and I don't want to miss out on them. On the next one, because
true. Fair.
But when, relatively speaking, wrapping up on Zionism. Modern Zionism is a political cancer that exists in all Western countries. It is decorroding. It is falling apart. We are seeing the backlash because the French government can't ignore it anymore.
Now, how much do you know about the history, Islamic history, or the religious history of the claim to 3,000 years ago of the land? If we
there
just
is
wrap
no
up on
physical historical evidence there's one of the biggest points I want to mention. Israel, Judea, Samaria, all of these ancient Jewish countries, yes, they were Jewish lands, yes, they were Jews living in them, they have never been independent countries.
Israel, even I find that what's looking.
Israel itself would not survive without Western power.
Yeah.
This is an oxymoron that they need to understand. I don't care they've got nukes. Without the trade of Europe, just Europe, America, Israel would collapse. So when we go back to the ancient Judea, was a vassal of Babylon, was a vassal of the Sumerians, was a vassal of the Egyptians, was a vassal of the Romans. It has never been until 1948, pseudographically, a independent
So
nation.
if we're looking at this religiously, Chris, what the Islamic scriptures say about this is, at the time of Moses, what happened was the Moses' people, which are now known as the Jews, the Israelites at the time, the reason why they were called Israelites was there was a prophet called
Isaiah?
Why has it just gone out of my head? The beautiful prophet, man.
Yaqub?
No, the beautiful prophet.
Yusuf?
Yusuf, sorry.
There was a prophet called Joseph.
Joseph,
I thought
I said Joseph.
Joseph. Yusuf in the English, Joseph. And his father was known as Israel, right? Which is Israel. That was his nickname. Now, from him came the progeny of all of the other prophets, all of the Israelites prophets, until Moses came, and at Moses as well, and even Jesus, peace be upon him.
They're all part of the same.
They're all part of the nickname Israel, which is Israel. And so they turn around and say, all of these lands belong to Israel, and it says in your religion, in your Quran, it says Israel. Yeah, because that's referring to the lineage
of Israel,
of the prophet Israel.
Jesus, Muhammad, all of the ancient Abrahamic prophets come from one effective bloodline.
So now we're looking. So that's that. Now at the time of Moses, what happened was they were given loads of bounties and loads of miracles. The people of Moses, the Jews at the time, and they weren't listening to the miracles, and they weren't listening to the scriptures and all that kind of stuff. So God said to them that exile them from the land, and you're going to be roaming for 40 years. You're going to be roaming the deserts, looking for a home, and you're not going to find one. And even during them times, they were given a lot of
leeway by God.
Yeah, and they were given a lot of miracles and all sorts of things. Now, one of the promises were by God that you will never get this land back. The land that they wanted to call home, that they had said that, right? Because at the time, Judaism started from Egypt. Because Joseph went as a slave, was taken as a slave to Egypt. And then from that lineage, from that family tree came down, one of them was Moses, started in Egypt. So how did they get over to Palestine? What we call Palestine? It was because of the splitting of the sea. When splitting of the Red Sea, and then they went over and then went through the Arab lands and into Palestine. And then they were going to stop there, but then God said to them, right, you're exiled because of you're not listening X, Y, and Z. You're not going to get these lands back. And then you were saying earlier, until the coming of the next arrival.
Basically the return of Jesus at the end.
So when people do say, when the Zionists say this land, it was promised to us 3,000 years ago, they also say, but it was also taken away from us 3,000 years ago. They forget that end bit.
Yeah, that's really critical. From a religious point of view, that they're claiming it via religious grounds. They're saying these
even though they're not very religious, not religious.
Huge amounts of Zionism. I would say Zionism is antitypical to Judaism.
Very.
The modern Jewish religion, I've very rarely seen a modern Jew who I've had conversation with who considers himself a Zionist.
Yeah. No.
And now some Zionists will say, oh, because they're embarrassed to be Zionists. I said, why would they be embarrassed? Muslims do everything they could to protect the Jewish faith. Yeah. Why would they be embarrassed to have a conversation with a Muslim?
Like if a straight out and out Jew was to come in our homes and talk to us and wasn't a Zionist, we would open him up.
Yeah.
Open our hands up. Welcome. You sit down. Let's eat together. X, Y, and Z. Right. The difference is, if a Zionist came to my house,
he'd want to take your house.
Yeah.
I mean, that's synonymous with Zionism. It's theft. It is theft. It's theft of both land, house, home, culture, everything. They've stolen. Zionists are thieves.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable saying that on a podcast.
Yeah. I love when I watch these reels on Instagram and stuff, and I see the American Zionist 24-year-old female saying, being asked, what's your national dish? And they say hummus or falafel. I'm like, excuse me? You haven't got a brown bone on your body and you want to come and claim someone's heritage for like 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 years ago. Are you feeling all right?
One of the cornerstone arguments that I have against Zionism, and I'm going to give this: what do the Abyssinians, the Persians, the Babylonians, the Greeks, the Egyptians, the Romans all have in common? They all had fights with Jews. Why? And the answer is many of them have absolutely diametrically opposed cultural and political reasonings. It's because the form of Talmudic Judaism does not want to be part of a multicultural society. All of these empires are multicultural, every single one of them, multi-religious, multicultural. America couldn't exist without multicultural.
It goes back to what Chris was saying earlier. It's either my way or the highway kind of thing.
Yeah, that's the way they are. And unfortunately, because they demand that, and there is a form of Zionistic xenophobia built into a certain type of Talmudic readings, which is what's used to perpetrate modern Zionism, you have to look historically back and you can see these ancient empires having the same problems. And they all have the same problem. The same problem is that the Zionistic movements inside of Palestine do not want to integrate multiculturally. Yeah. They do not want to share.
It's all
they
just want to take it over.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not for the two-state only because they should never have been a two-state in the first place. But I do understand that we're way past that now.
Yeah.
We're way past that, and I know for a fact that there's no way gonna be stopping of bloodshed just by constantly saying we don't want a two-state, it has to be Palestinian land because it belongs to them. We're way past that now. That's not going to happen.
I am at the point now that once the sanctions come in from Europe, the second generation migrants are going to flee. Israel is going to go through a population decrease. It's going to be a massive explosion. Yeah. You're going to see it because the cost of living for them is... Remember, you only have to look at the picture of the barefooted Palestinian fighter walking around in rubble, willing to die and bleed for that land. And then you've got the crying, Americanized, full-body armoured individual. He's stressed because he's had to shoot women and children. It tells you the European sanctions are coming. And I'm telling you, it's historically avoidable.
It's going to happen. Yeah.
It's going to come. London's going to be forced to. London will be the last bastion.
Yeah.
London will be the last Zionist bastion of Western European.
And do you think that's going to be
that's the death of Israel?
The death of Israel and the downfall of America.
America's downfall is happening. You are living for it.
Yeah.
Financially.
The fact that they've elected Trump.
Not just from Trump. Just what Trump's policies and everything is doing. Let's take into effect that your children, before they reach adulthood, America's power will have collapsed. They are alienating. How is America a superpower? The answer is by her allies. She is not the hyperpower that the British Empire was. The British Empire had British men, British soldiers, Irish soldiers, English soldiers, parked all over the world. Britain is the only power, historically speaking, that could wage a war on 3 continents simultaneously. America could not do that.
No.
Yeah.
When America loses its European allies, they're going to, because of the way they've treated them, because of the things involving Ukraine.
Yeah.
That is going to be the end of America's power as a superpower. It really is. I don't think the Americans quite grasp this. It's going to be the end. When that happens, there is no political reason for Western European nations to have anything to do with Israel.
Yeah.
Just an embargo of Germany, France, Britain, Scandinavia's, Italy, it's dead.
Yeah.
90% of
by
that would be the death of the UN as well.
Just by the Yemenis blocking the corridor.
Exactly. The Yemenis
killed billions.
It's affected our food trade.
Yeah.
These are some of the poorest people.
Yeah.
In the Yemenis will not back down from defending the Palestinians. They say, stop bombing the Palestinians, stop starving them. We'll let the trade go past. It's all they've got. They're trying to stop people getting murdered and starved.
And one of the poorest countries in the world.
The poorest country.
They're capable of doing something just as little as that.
Yeah.
And they're capable of look at the effects it's having.
And more importantly, look at how little the Saudi Arabians and that lot don't do. They could absolutely change the face of this. They could turn around and lower. They could do one or two things. They could turn around and double the price of their oil.
Yeah.
Or even go back to the old thing, switch off the oil.
Yeah. They won't do that. They won't because they need it. Remember, America's got a carrier outside.
Yeah.
You just increase the price.
Yeah.
You ram up the price. And you ram it up to the point that America feels it.
Yeah.
And the West feels it. You add 10, 15 pounds a barrel.
But that's an act of war though, wouldn't it be?
No. We believe for whatever economical reasons we need to increase the price of the barrel by $10 because of the global economy being unstable. Any excuse they want. They've done it many times. We've had examples of price gouging. They do it now whilst Israel's in this moment. That shows their support to the Palestinians quietly while operating in the normal way. Remember, the OPEC also has Iran. It has a nuclear power called Russia. So they get on board with the rest of the OPEC group and say, we're going to raise the price of oil by £10 a barrel. America is fucked.
Yeah.
From an international power point of view. Yes, they can supply themselves, but they're buggered internationally. Europe will buckle.
Yeah.
Because Europe cannot afford those prices at this current point, under this current economical crisis. As such, the death of Israel will happen before your children are having children. I will put my hand, may Allah guide me, I will tell you this now, you will see the death of Israel in our lifetime. It's not, no one else will even think about talking about this. You're watching things like Piers Morgan. You're watching the Prime Minister even backlashing now.
It's
Britain was one of the founders of Zionism, modern political Zionism.
And now they're the ones turning.
They're the ones turning. If you can see Britain turning, you know the legs are coming off.
Yeah. Could we end on Chris's view? Because I do remember you said at the start that you're not, you don't know too much about. Well, you're kind of neutral. What's your view? Has anything changed, or just your view in general?
My view, obviously, regardless of what's going on there, it shouldn't have been happening anyway. In fact, I know obviously people have influenced obviously British politicians by buying them out or whispering in their ears or whatnot, and also back certain actions which shouldn't have gone ahead. Obviously, never condone obviously refugees from starving or anything else. She's always help those that are in need. That's within your power. Because I'm firm belief, before you help anyone else, you must first be able to help yourself. Yeah. Because if you don't help yourself, you're never in a position to help anybody else.
Definitely.
So once you've got that under control, you can then turn around and help everybody else. But we should immediately, as John said, smack sanctions on Israel to stop them from doing any more harm, and it won't be long before they do collapse. So their main backbone is not exactly.
Israel cannot operate in a vacuum. Yeah. Israel does not have the means to operate in a vacuum.
I don't think any Western country can perform or maintain its stability in the world in a vacuum.
Yes, it can.
Yeah. But
Germany is just about the only. I've got to say, Germany just, but it wouldn't last long.
That's what I'm saying. Any Middle Eastern Asian country could. With themselves.
If you're talking them trading amongst
Asians, if they
collectively within Asia, within the
because of the connectedness of the world trade today, I don't think any one country could sustainably operate on its own independently.
No, you can't.
Germany is probably the only European country that could sustain it for a while. Britain would collapse in days. I'm not even. We import so much of what we have.
I was going to say we don't really have anything made in Britain
anymore.
Yeah, the reality is. So when you come towards Zionism as a closing point of view, me and Chris are pretty much, I think, equal mind in this. We should not be involved. That's the most neutral response.
No, it's valid.
You know, from just a pure British point of view, why are 80, 90 years later...
Were we backing something which we shouldn't be involved in?
Yeah. Which is clearly a war crime.
Which is a war crime anyway, which we have no stake in my view, because in fact, what are we going to gain from this? Apart from causing future problems down the road.
Yeah.
So it's just like, why are we even sat at the table of something that has nothing to do with us.
Yeah, I think the fundamental reason is the politician class have been covering Israel for so long that it's now second nature for them to continue doing it.
Exactly.
And now that they're seeing that the
right, not really gaining anything out of it.
No,
they are. There is funding. No, there is funding.
Yeah.
Just recently, just at the election of our current Labour government, the Labour government's funding moved from unions to independent donors.
That's personal funding, though, isn't it?
No, that's party. No, brother, that's on party level. The Labour Party has moved from union funding to private funding.
What I mean is, as Britain as a whole, as a country, as a
nation,
full nation, we're not gaining.
No, absolutely not. No.
So
99.9% of Britain doesn't get anything out of this.
The funding is, when I say personal, not on a individual level, but on a party level.
That's what we But we don't get shit.
As a nation, we're not better off. We're not better off supporting Israel, now are we?
No, categorically not. There's no justifiable reason for the British to be involved in this conflict.
There's only one reason I can think of, is having a foothold in the Middle East.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the only valid reason I can think.
Yeah, no, that's the only reason.
It's oil reason. It always has been.
To make Israel the main hub that controls all of the, because look, if you geographically as well, if you look at where they pointed, they've literally got all of the countries surrounding
oil providers.
And you've got Turkey, Egypt.
Take a look at how Syria's government fell over.
And you're looking
recently. Look at how Iraq was dealt with.
If you're looking at trade routes as well, just through the port in Gaza, the port that goes through there, just that outside there, there's said to be trillions of barrels of worth of resources. Yeah. So there's a lot of.
That's a foothold in the Middle East. That's all it is.
Yeah.
Financially,
and in a modern nation, there should be absolutely no reason we should be involved. Britain is, and I need to say this, and I say this with my podcast with Chris quite often. Britain is not a great power anymore.
No.
Britain hasn't been a great power since before when I was little.
Okay.
In the 80s, she could just about slap a third-rate country like like Argentina.
Really?
Just about. And that was difficult, and they still needed supplies from America. If the South Americans wanted the Falklands now, there would be nothing Britain could do about it militarily. We do not have the supply lines to supply the forces 2,000 miles to deal with it.
That's the problem, isn't it?
We are not the great nation we used to be. We need to deal with our internal matters.
That's the problem. That's how I agree with you. Yeah. If you don't fix your problems in-house,
absolutely,
how are you going to fix anything else?
Exactly.
And this is why I fundamentally believe that not the current crop of Liberal Democrats, but the train that is liberal democracy and liberty should be changed to be, because Labour is bought and paid for now.
Definitely, yeah.
They are on the pay train to the Zionists, and so are the Conservatives.
Yeah.
And I'm terrified of whatever nastiness that little fucking tweed-wearing cunt Farage brings to the table. He makes my skin crawl.
He's not right in the head, is he?
No.
He's not thinking.
And until then, that's our next topic.
Absolutely.
Go pause it.
We shall see. Well, we'll see you next week,
inshallah,
for the new UK political topic.
Well, British Muslims integrating the general populace in politics.
Yeah, shall be a good one.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
I will see you on the next one.